Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show. Today, I'm joined by Mitch Simpson, a martial artist of 45 years, multiple black belts, fourth Dan master, former instructor, and now a fully qualified mindset coach after completing a NLP master practitioner course. This is where I met Mitch on our NLP course, and when we were both in our qualifications back in coaching master days. This episode is for men who are 40 plus and on the outside they look fine, but inside they feel tired, lost, and wondering where their confidence has gone. We're going to be talking about discipline, identity, purpose, and how to get your head clear again without all the fluff. So, Mitch, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
For people who are meeting you for the first time, who are you and what do you actually do day to day, Mitch?
Well, my name's Mitch Simpson. I live in North Devon, a place called Barnstaple. I've lived here since I was 18. My dad was in the RAF and he moved abroad quite a lot. So at 18, I basically decided to stay here and it's been my home ever since. I had a I went to boarding school with my brother. And naturally that changed the way that I was. When I was younger, I was a bit of I'm trying to think of the word, out there, if that makes sense. So me and my brother, we're very, very close, but we're sort of opposite each other. And I used to love playing football, badminton, lots of sports. And then when we got sent to boarding school in 1979, and actually it changed my life and my brother's life because it was only a small school in the Quantock Hills in Somerset. There's only 250 boys in it, but it's interesting because we had so many different types of people there, from ethnic, and it opened my eyes massively. And it made me engage with a lot of people from different countries, from different ethnics, from different religions and things like that, And from a very young age, I'm glad that I experienced that because I treat everybody the same. At the end of the day, I don't hold grudges against people. It's a complete waste of time. But I love interacting with people, just talking to them, hearing about their life, what they're doing, where they want to be, where they want to go, how they're feeling. It's something that I absolutely love doing. And like yourself, when we on the TCM course, that was a massive thing for me. And Lewis and Liam completely opened up the door on a very, very large scale. That yourself, Luke. It was fascinating, and I absolutely loved it. And I'm so looking forward to helping my niches. My niche is like to help males between 50 and 60, like you say, who are tired and lost, and they were going to go from clear to confident, which is exactly what I went through, 16 years ago, 15 years ago. And if my output on that is like if I can go through that and come out the other side, then I want to help males to do that themselves, because you know what we're like as men, we don't talk, we don't reach out, it's like, oh, we're males, we can cope with everything. Well, that is a load of absolute rubbish. I don't know if you think it out.
Yeah. Definitely. That is tough. The ego is a massive part of a man's identity, and breaking that down. Breaking that down and trying to, make people vulnerable, and through vulnerability, I always say this on this podcast, that's when we connect. But men shouldn't have to hit that low point, that rock bottom, before they do open up. It's about nipping it in the bud before it gets that bad. I think that's really, really important as a coach.
Absolutely.
Yeah, working with men is tough, Mitch, as you know.
Yeah. Well, again, but going back to my martial arts, when I first started that, and I met Matt Fidesz. Matt's a multi-millionaire now. He's got the biggest franchise of martial arts schools on the planet. And he was a mentor for me. And I joined his club in 1999. And then he saw potential in me to be an instructor. And and I sort of went away and thought about it. I thought, yeah, why not? Why not? If you don't try something, you're never going to know how you're going to be good at it. If you're not, then you're not. Then you move on to something else, and you'll eventually find something that you really, really passive about. And you want to help people, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. So when it came to the teaching side of it, um,
Yeah.
that was very intense. However, cut a long story short, I then ended up going into teaching in South Devon, like Exmouth, Exeter, Barnstable, where I am now, and a few other. I was in 8 locations, and at
Oh,
one
okay.
stage, I had the biggest amount of students, and that for me was a massive uplift. If that's
Mm. Yeah.
at the time I was, because I was only around like 20. I was born in 65 when so I was, yes, I was about 25, 25,
Okay.
26, something like that. But it opened my eyes up to the potential that you can gain, if you really want to do something, right, just go and do it.
Mm. What sort of martial arts were you teaching, Mitch?
Well, Matt had a Matt had it basically it was freestyle. So freestyle
Okay.
martial arts is a combination of about several of the martial arts, and they sort of put put a plan together. One of the things that Matt and I did, we sat down and we had a plan A about the teaching, where to teach, how to teach, and what we were going to teach. And so I learned another four to five styles within Matt's freestyle thing. I also had private lessons. We had a guy called Dave Kovar. Dave Kovar has got the biggest franchise of martial arts on the planet, and he has done for about 40 years. And he came over for about 2 weeks to Barnstable,
Mm.
and
Okay.
just sat down with a guy and said, like, well, look, how do we get from here to here and that? And he was so brilliant at communication. And I picked up on that. His communicative skills were absolutely fantastic. And I
Mm.
kind of embraced all of that and I took it on board. So when I went to teach, I had that knowledge that Dave had told us. And another thing that he told us to do was to write everything down, which at the time I
Mm.
thought, well, why do I need to do that? Well, obviously later on in life, it's coming very handy. And when again, just literally just coming back to the mindset thing, there's a lot of people, they decide to like just sit in a corner of a room and don't do anything. But unless you communicate, whether it's verbal or written down or anything like that, if you don't do that, you are never, ever going to be the person you truly want to be.
Mm. Yeah, you've got to push yourself out your comfort zone.
Absolutely, 100%.
Mm. What is Why is martial arts such a good thing to learn? I'm big into boxing. I boxed as a kid. I started at 11. I boxed through till I was 17. My son now boxes. He's had a couple of boxing fights. I think it's brilliant for discipline, for fitness, for many, many reasons. What's your take on that, Mitch?
Well, it's interesting you saying about boxing because if I had normal sight, my granddad, my mum's dad, was a boxer, and
Okay.
he was just an amateur. He wasn't a professional or anything,
Yeah.
but he used to talk about it when we were kids. And
Mm.
in a way, when I look back now from years and years ago, and that sort of resonated with me, but I didn't really know that it did, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, I would have loved to have been a boxer, but obviously because of my eyesight, I couldn't do it. So that's why
Mm.
why I wanted to do something alternative. And there were a couple of times where I went to some open days, in the country, in Great Britain, somewhere Birmingham. I used to go to
Mm.
Manchester with London, and I used to go to these things and just watch them and then speak to people. And that's why I embraced like what Matt's system did was like have 4 or 5 martial arts together. And but it was good because you're not just teaching one thing, you're teaching several things. And when we used to write out all of the systems that we're going to use for each class, because the class, I used to teach kids between 3 and 6. And then
Okay.
it was like from 7 to 12, and then it was 13 upwards. But it's fascinating going from like seeing young children. It was only literally half an hour, but
Mm.
actually they were more, trying to think of the word now, into it. than actually some of the older ones, which is fascinating. However, the teaching skills that I amassed, along with Matt's help and several other people and Dave Cobar's help, I basically transformed myself into a very successful instructor. And like I say, I had the biggest amount of students at one point. We actually had, I used to teach in a place called Exmouth, and Matt walked in one day with Yuri Geller.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, Yuri Geller was, because Matt's a very good friend with Yuri Geller, and he came in and did his, like, bending the spoons and everything.
Yeah.
But he actually joined in the class.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
very, very interesting. But he was a lovely man. He's a lovely man. I've been to his house twice. He's a lovely
Yeah.
guy. He really is. He's so down to earth. But yeah, and also met the guy who played Oliver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, so yeah. But yeah. So sorry, go
So martial arts, it obviously it's all about self-defense, I think, predominantly. What else does it teach you?
on. Discipline. It's very
Yeah.
disciplined. But at the end of the day, it makes you turn into the person you truly want to be, because when you're at school, like, you sat in a chair all the time and, the teacher's writing on a blackboard or whatever it is. I mean, obviously that's what like on our days. But with the martial arts, because there's so many different styles, and I used to teach basically 2 different styles per class. So we'd break it up. We'd break it up. And I used to put vulnerable people with skilled people.
Right.
And the reason why I used to do that was, like, the vulnerable people who were, like, either shy, they didn't feel that they were good enough or anything like that. They're like, oh God, like, I'm scared of that person who's bigger than me and that. Well, I used to say, well, in reality, when you walk out of that door, you're in the real world. And I said, you
Mm.
can't just turn around to somebody and say, oh no, sorry, you can't do that to me, and they'll just turn around and walk off. That's not
Yeah.
what happens. So the curriculum that me and Matt put together for certain people actually worked in the long term. And also it made this far more proactive. And that's the
Yeah.
one thing I really liked about it, Luke. It's very proactive. I'm not saying it's a sport or anything. It's more like a education.
Yeah.
And
It's
one,
life skills as well, I
yeah,
think.
absolutely. Oh, that's, yeah, life skill. It is an education. And obviously,
Mhm.
as you're going up the belts, it gets. I don't call it harder. It gets more. Trying to think of the words now. Real life. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. It gets more intense.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So what made you commit to doing your NLP course with the coaching masters and move into this line of work of coaching then, Mitch? What was the
I think basically the because I started Krav Maga on my own, 16 years ago, with a
Yeah.
friend of mine. And that's an Israeli Special Forces. It's not a martial art
Okay.
technically, but I put martial arts in with it. But basically, it made me think more about what's really happening in the real world. Um,
Mm.
I took what I took from it is I embraced everything that I was teaching. It made me far more confident than I actually thought I was. um,
Mm.
but I used to do one-on-ones as well for people. I had males and females together, and actually, joking aside, some of the women I taught were absolutely brilliant, and I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed teaching males and females together because that's what I did, and I used to put males with females and things like that. Obviously, you couldn't beat each other up. However, I'm a very technical person when it comes to martial arts, and I break down all the techniques. And we used to have, I used to teach twice a week, but first class would be like complete technical, like for 2 hours. And then about 3 or 4 days later, I'll do it, and then we get all the gear on and everything like that, and make it more like a real life scenario. And that's what I really loved about the teaching, the fact that somebody could walk into a room, and then an hour and a half later can walk out, and they've basically learnt something. that can
Mm,
save their lives.
mm,
And that's what I still love about martial arts. I just do grading seminars now, but I still love it, and I've massively embraced it. And I'm not being big headed, but I'm very good at being an instructor, and it's something that I
mm,
really embrace a lot. And I took
mm,
what I did from that into the TCM mindset.
mm, mm. It's quite interesting what you just said about women as well, the
Mm.
difference between women and men. I was away a few weeks ago with another boxing coach, and we were talking about coaching men and women, and he was saying that what he finds when he's coaching women is they really listen, whereas the men, maybe it is that ego that we were just talking about. They don't
Oh
tend to
yeah,
listen and take in as much because they think that they know it all. A lot of
right.
men.
Actually, from
Do you
personal
agree with that?
experience, I think that actually the females actually took more of the knowledge in
Yeah.
rather than the males did. Because what you're saying is completely right, Luke. It's like, oh, we're macho men, aren't we? Well, actually, not. At the end of the day, males and females, we're all human beings. We're all the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
you know, and I think a lot of people just don't respect the other sex at times, but that's down
Mm,
to them. That's their mindset. But one of the best
yeah.
things I did learn from I had a one-on-one with Lewis for about an hour just
Mm,
before, yeah, just after I joined, and I had an hour with him and that. And I asked him about his background. He told me everything about what he'd been through. He's obviously been, he went to prison and everything.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
However, he that resonated with me in a way because like he was at his lowest point and then he decided to change his life and then he went right up to here and now look where he is. So that sort of thing, well, if he could do that, be at his lowest
Mm,
point probably in his
mm,
life, and then completely do a 360 and turn it round. So now he's like, he's a millionaire. He's
mm,
part of the TCM, who are the biggest franchise on the planet when it comes to coaching and that. and,
yeah.
I embraced everything that, the talks that I had with him, and I wrote literally, well, I write a lot of stuff down already.
Yeah.
But, I used to write everything down. That's one of the things he told me. He said, if you can't speak, write it.
Yeah. 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 It's still important journaling as well.
Yeah. But I love
Getting,
them. I love them both, like, Liam and Lewis. And
yeah. These are the two partners that run TCM, which is the
yes.
coaching master. But
Yeah.
just for context for the listeners, yeah, yeah, they're a great partnership, and I ended up doing I think 3, 4, maybe even 5 courses of theirs. So
Oh, wow.
over a couple of years. So yeah, and I always say to people, even if you don't go on to build a coaching business after working with them, just
Hmm.
just the mindset stuff, just the self development stuff,
Yeah,
it's absolutely brilliant just for that alone. I think.
absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I
Yeah.
completely resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I really do. I think I know now, they've gone on to I can't remember what it is now. They've changed the name, haven't they?
Oh yeah, they have. They have the university, I think
That's
it's
it,
called now.
university. Well, I've still got things to complete on that as well,
Oh, have you?
because
Yeah.
I think they joined them together, didn't they? So yeah, so I've still got about 3 or 4 things to do there. Actually, at the weekend, I did some of the stuff, so I'm gonna, I think I've got about another, I don't know, 6 or 7 weeks until I've actually finished the whole shebang. Yeah.
You were speaking about Lewis with his rock bottom earlier, Mitch.
Yes.
So when would you say your rock bottom was?
Oh God. So I had I was married to a lady in 2006, and in 2007 I went and saw the Sex Pistols play in London, Brixton Academy. Came home
Okay.
same night, and we got married the year before, and I was in bed. I woke up, and the car had gone from outside, and I thought, oh, she's gone to work or whatever it is. And then she didn't turn up, and I thought, what's going on here? And basically, there was a letter come through the letterbox about, I don't know, 2 o'clock. Sorry, yeah, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And basically, she said, I'm not coming back.
That was after a year.
There, that was in 2007. And cut a long story short, I found out that she'd been talking to an ex, and she went back with him. But
Oh,
the
wow.
funny thing is, like, she insisted that we got married the year before, and
Mm,
then that happened. But that moment, basically, I just went from being on a skyscraper straight down
mm,
through a pit in a hole in the concrete floor, and just going down to hell. And I was
mm,
like it for about 3 or 4 months, 6 months. Yeah, I just did a complete 360, and I went from being a really confident, and stuff like that, and I just flipped it. And I got so low, one day I drove down to Bude, and I just
mm,
stood on the edge of a cliff, and I just wanted to
mm,
leave the planet. And, when I look back now, what I should have done is actually spoke to people, which I didn't, because being a male, you're like, "Oh, yeah, I can cope with," well, actually,
mm,
internally, I couldn't. I couldn't do it. And my mind was absolutely a shambles, complete
mm,
shambles. It's almost like somebody, like, screwed it all up and chucked it away.
mm,
But there was an elderly couple sat on a bench, and the lady came over to me and pulled me to the bench and said, like, "Do you wanna talk?" And I said, "No, I wanna leave the planet." And she said, "Why would you wanna do that?" And then her husband sort of backed her up, and I was just like, "Oh, they're asking, so I might as well tell them." And we were there, sat there for about 3 hours
oh,
just
wow.
talking. That's all it
Mm,
was. It was a nice sunny day. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We just chatted, and the lady she's a very, very intelligent woman. She'd asked me these questions, and if I didn't answer them, she'd say, "Just give me a word between or give me a sentence between 1 word and 10 words to the
yeah,
question I've asked you." And that's what
mm,
I did. And then after about an hour, hour and a half, I started to open up. And then I broke down. I cried my eyes out. I was an absolute mess.
mm,
So they took me back to their house, which was literally about a 10-minute walk from where we were. And, they said, "Oh, where'd you come from?" And they said, and I said, "Oh, I got my car here." And they said, "Here's our number. Contact us 24/7 whenever you want to. If you want to talk, please do it." He said, because, both of them said to me, like, "If you don't interact, then you're going to do it, and you will jump off that cliff. However, we're giving you the opportunity to actually interact with us on a
mm,
daily basis until you then register yourself as a man again, and you want to
mm,
go ahead and live your life the way that you want to live." And then I jumped in my car and I come back to Barnstable. But I was thinking about what she had said.
mm,
And then that started to sort of like engross with me about,
mm,
like, never talking, not interacting with anybody, even with my own daughter and things like that. And it wasn't until later on I realized that actually I should never have done that. I should, not interact with people, that I had to interact. And if you don't do that, you're never going to progress. And that's when a friend that I used to work with, I broke down in work. And he came up to me, took me outside, and he said, "Right, I'm going to take you to see somebody, and you're going to listen to what they're going to say." And he took me to a guy called Stephen, who's a psychotherapist, and
mm,
he took me in there, and he said, "This man needs your help. Please make him better." And 18 weeks later, I came out of there, and my mind had changed on a massive scale.
wow. So what happened in that period?
Um, what, the 18 weeks? Yeah, so
Yeah.
I went in there and I was basically a loose cannon.
Mm,
I My language was appalling. I was, when I spoke to him, I spoke to the floor. My arms were folded. I was all like this, and I couldn't look him in the eye or anything. But what he did, he encouraged me. He said, "Okay, look at me for like 5 seconds, and then turn away again." But then he would increase it, and it got to like I think 30 seconds. But we did this on every team, so I saw him twice a week. Basically, every lesson that I had with him, he increased things like eyesight, talking, body language, mindset, and that is what actually healed me on a very, very large scale. And I came out of that, and I was a completely new guy. And I still do the stuff that he told me like 15 years ago. And he moved away. He closed his practice and he moved away up country, and I never heard from him again. But what he did for me, Luke, was like, he changed my life. Absolutely changed my life.
Rewired your brain.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
So that was 15 years ago, Mitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's happened in the last 15 years since that rock bottom?
Crikey. Well, quite a lot. I actually, one of the first things I did was get back into proper teaching,
Yeah.
Krav Maga, and I changed my curriculum and everything. And I actually started writing in the diary on a daily basis. Doesn't matter if it was 1 word or 100 words, it didn't matter. But then I had to read what I wrote out loud in front of the mirror. And I still every day before I go to work, I look in the mirror and I go, "Hey, Mitch, you're the best version of yourself. Have a great day. High five, man." Bang. And then I walk out the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that works for me. That works for me. And I do it all the time and I love it, and it makes me feel, and my confidence level is like through the blinking roof now. And that's why when the TCM came along, that's why I wanted to learn about the mindset and how we can do it. What will it take for us to go from this level to this level to this level to this level, mindset wise? And I absolutely loved it, mate. You probably know that yourself because you've been through it yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's transformational. It really is.
Oh,
Like I was
absolutely.
saying earlier. Why do you specifically help men in their 50s then and 50 plus, Mitch?
Well, so there's been quite a few people who I used to teach. I had 2 people specifically, a 70-year-old man and a 38-year-old man. And basically, I used to do private lessons with them. The reason why I did it, and what I did was it wasn't just the teaching about the Krav Maga, I would then put in what Stephen taught me about being your true self. How you can go into the open world now and be you, at the end of the day, if people don't like you for who you are, that's their loss, and I think basically it gave the 2 guys who I specifically used to work with a lot of more confidence. One of them, I'm not going to mention their names, but one of them used to literally come into the classroom like this, head down, things like that. The first thing I used to say was well, you're looking at the floor, so do 10 press-ups. But then that again, over a period of time, that changed quite dramatically. And I was teaching for about 4 years Krav Maga, but now I just do seminars and gradings. But I do, I do seminars. I do is all Krav Maga, and they go on for 6, 7, 8 hours. But I get paid for doing that now, so I'm not complaining. But I put in everything that I learnt from Stephen, and even previous to that. When I first became into judo at school and things like that, and I spent about 2 weekends literally writing down exactly what I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it, how I'm going to do it, who am I going to teach, how am I going to get them from A to B to C to D to right the way down to Z. And that's how I work. I go from A because it's 26 steps, isn't it? So, and I think of a word beginning with every letter. So You know, and that's the way I teach the Krav Maga as well. Is start from basics and then work your way up. If you're one of these people who just oh, I want to go from there to there in like a month and that, it's never going to happen. It's
Yeah,
never going
it's a
to
really
happen.
good metaphor for life, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a really good metaphor for life. You need to take those small steps.
yeah,
I'm saying it all the time on this podcast, literally every week. It's all about the small incremental steps and the
yeah.
compound effect.
Well, I use the ladder. You know,
Yeah,
the ladder thing. Yeah, so I
yeah,
know
yeah,
exactly where you're coming from on that.
yeah, definitely. What is the most common thing that you see then, Mitch, with the men that you've taught over the years and the men that you work with now? What's the most
Mm.
common pattern? Is it anger? Is it overworking? Is it drinking? I mean, what is it?
That's a very good question, actually. And I was thinking about this earlier in work. I was thinking, is Luke going to ask me about what every male's like? I think with us, because males are supposed to be egotistic, you know, we're not vulnerable, we're males, you know, we provide, we do this, we do that. That's a load of bullshit. You know, at the end
Mm,
of the day, I'd rather
yeah.
sit down who, you know, admits that you know that they're not themselves anymore. They don't talk. You know, there's a couple of guys who I work with. One of them especially is a very shy guy, but I go and talk to him every single day without fail. First thing I do as soon as I walk
Mm,
into work, I go up to him and I go like, "Should we go outside for 5 minutes?" And we go outside and we just chat. You know, I'm like, "Hey,
yeah.
how you doing, mate?" You know, or you know, something like, "Crikey, oh, you got a new pair of trainers on? Oh, when did you get them?" You know, just small chit chat. But then he's starting now to open up more, not
Mm,
just with me now, but with the other group of people we're with.
mm,
And you know, he's a very shy guy. He's incredibly shy. I haven't asked him why he's shy, but I think just looking at his body language, well, I may be miles away from this, but I think something's happened to him before, whether that's a breakup, abuse, whatever it is. And I think he's struggling to really open up and go, you know, look, I need help. But he's not at that
mm,
point yet. But I'm
mm,
there for him. And I've told him that.
mm,
I've said, if you want to speak to anybody, you know where I am. So I'm now
mm,
waiting. He has progressed a little bit over the past couple of weeks, but
mm,
you know, he works with his head down, and you know, and he looks around at people like this, and yeah. But I'm hoping that he is going to make that step, and because I told him I'm doing the mindset thing, and I have said to him, look, I'm willing to let you like have a coaching session with me, but I'll do it free of
mm,
charge. You know, it'll only be like a couple of hours or something, but I said, I'll do it for you free of charge. You don't have to pay me for it, you know, but
mm,
I need you to actually start opening up, because if you don't, then you're just going to go downstairs and you're not going to come out the cellar. You need to
mm,
climb out of the cellar, go to the first floor, work your way up to the
mm,
second floor, and then work your way up to the top of the house. And then you can
mm.
shout out, here I am. I'm the man I want to be.
It's tough though. It's so
Yes.
tough when we've been conditioned for years, sometimes decades.
Mm.
How does a man like that open up? What's the first step, Mitch? I know it's a tough question. It's a horrible question, but
So basically, you know, I had my mate take me to Stephen. I mean, and that me walking through that door was a life
mm,
changing for me. As a generalization, I just think that as men, we don't really admit when we're vulnerable. We don't. You know, I'm not saying it's for every man on the planet at all, but I think it's we need, you know, we need to accept accountability of the way we're behaving, you know.
mm,
And if you don't acknowledge that, then you are never going to progress. You know, there has to come a point where, you know, it's either the highway or the goodbye way. And that's the way I call it. You know, if you want to travel up that highway, then you have to start from a starting point and work your way up, like follow that road until, you know, it will never end. But your scenery will get better as you're walking along that road. You know, you can walk through a cave and then you see the cave entrance, and you come out of the cave, and then you see blue sky, you see some trees and that. Oh, look, there's a footpath. I'm going to walk along that footpath, and then just like, I love going out in nature. I've got nature around where I live, and I absolutely love it. I embrace it. Me and my other half, we're tree huggers. We just do it. We just got we got an oak tree we hug down the road from where
Yeah.
we live, and things like that. But that for me is great. I just love hugging this big tree, and I'm just like, yay. And then I feel better. It may sound ridiculous to some people, but actually at the end of the day, that is what makes me confident.
Mm.
That's
Okay, so being out in nature gives you confidence.
Yeah, because basically you're not surrounded by cars, lorries, like noise and things like that. My partner, she comes from Cornwall. We go down there, and see her family and that, and it's beautiful down there. We go
Mm.
on long walks, and we really embrace it because we just love it. And for where I am, we've got places like Salton Sands, and we've got about 8 beaches around where I live, and we'll go down there and we'll just sit there on the dunes, just looking out at the sea, hearing the
Mm.
waves, even the wind with the sun up, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It's one of the main reasons I moved here to the Isle of Man. It's very raw, very scenic, and we've recently got a dog as well. So
Yeah,
going out with my dog in nature, Mitch, it's bliss.
me,
And yeah,
me
I
and my
mean having
family went to the Isle of
yeah.
Man in 1979 for a holiday.
Oh, 79. Wow.
Yeah,
That was when it was really, really busy and everyone
yeah,
was coming here for holidays, I think,
yeah.
before
It's a
all the
lovely place.
European.
It's a lovely
Yeah.
island. It really is. It's a lovely place.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, when you were saying about being out in nature, it really resonates with me because,
Um,
yeah, I obviously grew up in Bristol in a big city, and I've always craved that getting out in nature. My wife always laughs at me because I love to walk through trees, just
yeah,
like yourself.
yeah,
I like to be in the forests. I absolutely love it. There's something about being under the canopy of all those trees.
yeah,
It's like when you go to Centre Parks, isn't it? You go to the parks and you're in amongst all the trees, and it's I don't know what it is, but obviously we evolved out in nature, didn't we? Hundreds of thousands of years ago. I think
yeah.
there's something about
Yeah.
it, and it's just that feeling that it gives you, and it is the escape from the hustle and bustle.
It is. When we open our front door in the morning, we live in an 18th century cottage, which we bought like 2 years ago, and it's in a
Oh,
very quiet area. And when we open the door up, we can hear the birds singing. Um, we're surrounded by, there's a few houses in front of us, but actually it's quiet. We got a church across there. We had the bells going it like twice a week. But actually, we got beautiful neighbours. We're all roughly the same age around where we're living at the moment, and it's therapeutic, really
mm,
therapeutic. And we got a place called Manning's Pit, where we walk down, and it's got like stream. We love the sound of flowing water. We've got hills and that, we've got countryside around us, it's like lovely air here, and it's amazing. And I feel I'm the best version of me that there's ever been. I really
mm,
do.
mm.
And I get where you
Do you practice gratitude as well, Mitch? That's one of the big things that I do now,
sorry, what was
and
that?
when I'm doing it. Do you practice gratitude at all? Is that
Oh God, yeah.
part of your mind?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm thankful for where I am now, It's
Mm,
I'm probably, like I said earlier, at the best point in my life I've ever been at. Really am.
mm,
And, and I love it.
yeah,
There's one thing that Stephen actually did say to me was, he said, "If you can't love yourself, who can't you love?"
mm, yeah, yeah. I think a lot of this does come down to self-worth.
Yeah,
I think,
definitely.
yes, so
100%.
important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If it was one mindset exercise that you could give a man who's feeling lost, Mitch, what would it be?
Meditation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, brilliant. Lovely.
I used to meditate a lot, but I don't do it so much now. But
Yeah.
what I actually do is, if I'm driving the car and I come home sometimes and I just park the car in the garage for about 2 minutes, I just sit there and close my eyes and I just breathe heavily in, like, because breathing is so good for calming you down. Yeah, deep
Yeah.
breaths,
Mm.
and I used to meditate a lot, and it's something that that one of the first things I actually learned from Lewis, sorry, from Liam. He is the
Mm.
one who actually told me to say, like, do you meditate? Because you're a martial artist. I said, yeah, I do. He said, well, what's your breathing like?
Mm.
And I thought I just used to like do that, and
Mm.
that was it. He said, if you don't breathe, he said, your mind can't calm, and that resonated. So that's what
Mm.
I do now. Even when I'm at work, I have my lunch on my own. I
Mm.
just like sort of like take the half-hour lunch break we have, and I do it on my own. And for about 2 or 3 minutes, sometimes I'll just shut my eyes and just listen to what's around me.
Mm.
And that's
Yeah.
that for me. That's a healer.
Mm. Did you learn to meditate through your martial arts then?
Yeah,
Like Liam said, did you?
yeah. I did it a long time ago when I was
Mm.
going through a couple of phases of my life. I went back. I actually dropped it but then I went back into it when I started. Well, actually, about 3 or 4 years when I was working with Matt, at the time. And we actually brought that into the classroom. We used to, like, after like an hour and a half lesson, I used to sit everybody down and I gave them a 5-minute meditation.
Mm.
And we used to do that every lesson.
Yeah, I found it really, really powerful. It's part of my morning routine now.
Yeah.
Since we've got a puppy, it's definitely changed somewhat.
It
I
has.
can't get away with doing my half-hour
Mm.
meditations like I used to, but I'm hoping that as she calms down, then I'll be able to get back into it properly. But I still get the odd 5 minutes whenever I can. But I've really found a big difference in my mental state since I've stopped doing it. I
Mm.
think it's so calming and it's so good for you. And I've even felt anxiety and stuff coming back in, and I haven't been felt anxious, really anxious for years, to be honest, since I've been doing all this mindset work and self development. But
Do you
because I
talk to yourself in the mirror?
no,
You should
no,
try.
well, I
Try
do
it.
sometimes, but not every morning.
What do you say? What did you tell yourself
I'm enough.
on a scale of 1 to 10?
What at the moment?
Yeah.
I would say an 8 at the moment.
So how are you going to get to a 9?
I have to work harder
By doing what?
by allowing more time to work on myself and prioritizing myself.
Great answer.
Oh, I feel like I feel I feel I feel like I owe you mate. That was brilliant. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
I feel like I needed that, but
You
yeah,
write stuff
it's
down?
yeah, I do. But again, I've been letting that slip as well. There's a few things recently that I've been letting slip with the meditations and with other bits and pieces, because you know what it's like. Life gets so busy and frantic, and then we tell ourselves, "I haven't got the time to do that. I need to do X, Y, and Z." And it's the analogy of the face masks, isn't it, on the airplane coming down?
Oh, yeah.
If you're not filling your own cup up, if you're not working on yourself, then things are gonna, and it affects everyone around you as well. This is why I tell people all the time. I think as coaches, it's so frustrated because we know this stuff. We've got the tools, we've got the frameworks, but we don't always do it ourselves, do we, Mitch?
No, exactly.
Mm,
Exactly that.
yeah.
And so that's why once, when the course of the TCM, obviously I haven't finished it completely yet, but I mean, it's taught me a massive
Oh,
lesson about myself, like, and that's why, like, the little meditation, looking in the mirror, talking to myself,
mm,
and like you just said, like, just breathing, going out in
mm,
nature, loving yourself. Why wouldn't you love yourself?
Yeah, because if you don't love yourself, then
Who can you
that's
love?
it. You're gonna self-sabotage, you're gonna procrastinate, you're gonna yeah, yeah. It all starts with you, and you're the one that you've got to spend the most time with, aren't you?
Yeah.
In your own head.
Can I set you a task for a week?
Yeah, go on then.
Right. So from tomorrow,
Yeah.
for a week, you've got to talk to yourself in the mirror. You're going to write
Right.
down what you spoke about to yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
journal on it.
and then you are going to tell your other half why you've done it.
Okay. Right, I'll make a note of that. So I've got to tell my wife why I've done it as well. I know I listen to a lot of Mel Robbins, and I know that she does the high five every morning, doesn't she, in the mirror? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. She's brilliant, Mel Robbins. She's really good. So, what do you think that is the biggest lie that us men tell ourselves, Mitt?
We're not good enough.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can resonate with that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as males, we underestimate ourselves far too much.
We
We
beat ourselves up a lot, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely.
mm,
I'll give you a prime example. So last week, I had a bit of a cold. I was coughing,
Yeah,
and, I went on my lunch break. I do it on my own. I went and sat in the car, and when I normally go now, I'll pick my phone up, and I normally watch some, videos on there, 5-minute videos. And, basically, I didn't do it, and I was just literally staring out of the windscreen. I was eating my lunch, and I was just staring I was just looking around and just thinking, "Oh, yeah," and that but what actually came into my mind was like, "Oh god, I've got another 3.5 hours now before I go home and see the other half," and, you know, and it was all, like, negative. It
yeah.
was reactive, and
Negative self.
so this went on for about a couple of days, and then I suddenly woke myself up going, like, "What the hell are you doing? What are you doing? You got a job, you got your best partner in the world, lovely family, everything else. Like, what more do you want?" And that's when I gave myself a slap round the face. Basically, I slapped myself round the face, and I was like, "Wake up for Christ's sake!" You
Mm,
know,
yeah,
not being so like reactive. And
yeah,
then literally
yeah.
flipped, and that I think as males sometimes we do underestimate ourselves.
Mm.
We do. I mean, could you give me an example when you underestimate yourself?
When I underestimated myself. Well, there's been many times. I would say the last few years since I've been doing all this mindset work, I haven't really underestimated myself. But it was really, really, really tough stepping out of my comfort zone, like
Mm,
moving here to the Isle of Man, where we had a comfortable life in Bristol. But I followed my intuition. I had that gut feeling, but yeah, I didn't think that we would be able to do it. It was such a big move for me and my family.
yeah,
So that's just one example. I held back for years, and I wish I'd done it when the kids were younger, but better late than never. We're here now, and it's worked out amazing.
yeah.
We've been here 2 years in August,
Wow.
so that's just an example. But I'm definitely following my gut more now, my intuition, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's a massive thing you need to do.
Mm.
Go with your gut
Yeah,
instincts. Definitely, 100%.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Would you say intuition's quite a big thing for you then, Mitch?
Oh, massively. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very, one of the things that I have learned through martial arts and that, I'm very good at reading people. Are you the
Yeah.
same?
I am, yeah. I
Yeah.
think I think I am. Not to sound big-headed, but, yeah, I think I get a good feeling for people. I feel off people's energy.
Oh,
When someone walks in the room, I can feel it,
yeah, definitely.
even if I've just met them.
No, I'm
And
the same.
again,
Yeah, I'm the
I
same.
would put that down to intuition, definitely.
100%. 100%.
Mm,
But I think that's a good I think that's one of the things that we're that we're pretty good at as males is,
mm,
when this, like, kicks into the proactive mindset,
uh,
I think, it opens up a whole new world.
mm.
Absolutely.
I remember I remember, Mitch, you mentioning that you helped bodyguard Michael Jackson
Yeah.
back in 2002. What was that experience like?
Well, basically, Matt's was a friend of Michael for quite a long time. He used to bodyguard Michael along with some others. Anyway, he came down to Exeter City Football Club with Uri Geller and crikey, it was a couple of male singers from that era. We were massive across the world singers and everything. And he, so there was about 7 of us who actually looked after him. And he walked down one of the corridors. And he's walking towards me. I'm only about 5'8". He was walking towards me, and I was just looking at him. And as he came close, and I went, "Hi, Michael. How are you?" Shook his hand, and he went, "Hi," and bows, and he was just like, "Hi." And then he walked, and he was going to go into one of the main rooms that overlooked the football pitch. And he said, "I'm not going in there." And he had 2 SAS guys with him at all times, bodyguarded him closely. David Blaine was there as well. God,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
he was,
God.
yeah, something else. And then Michael turned around and he started walking up, and I said, "Oh," I said, "what do you think about where you are now, Exeter and that?" And he said, he had a quite quiet voice. When he looked at you, he'd look at you and then look away. So that's anxiety, but he was a quiet guy anyway. And I said, "That room you've just come out of, what's going on in there?" And he said, "Oh, come and have a look." So I walked up with
Yeah.
him and we walked in, and there was about 20 families with disabled children there in
Wow.
wheelchairs. And I think it was about 20 or that. But he gave them money. But he was so kind of around the children. He was brilliant. He was really, really good with them. And then basically he then had to go out onto the pitch, and there was a massive stand. Matt was standing behind him with an umbrella, and he went from this very shy thing, and it was just suddenly like, "Ta-da, here I am," and he was very vocal, and it was great. It was he was really, really good. And then he sort of like turned into himself again when he came off the stage. As he came off, we were stood right in front of where the platform was, and we were holding hands with disabled children in wheelchairs around it. I welled up. He was just so good with the kids. He really was. He was fantastic. And then there was like 4 cars. We then drove. They closed Exeter City down completely. We drove through the city, went round by the cathedral, and he was staying in one of the hotels. He then jumped on top of his car because there was a load of fans there. God, the noise was unbearable.
Yeah, that was
However,
mad.
but he came out, and then he went into the hotel, went upstairs and did all the waving and everything like that. And then later on in the afternoon, we jumped on a train and went up to London. We stayed at Chelsea. Chelsea plays a whole floor on the top floor. And we went down to Soho, and there was a Michael Jackson tribute act down there.
Yeah.
We walked in, and nobody knew he was going to be there. Then the lights went down. He went on stage, and the lights come up, and the guy who was impersonating him fainted. Because it was the real one, and he did the moonwalk and everything like that. He was only on the stage for about 15, 20 minutes, and that was it. It wasn't on there that long. And then he went out, and then he, I think the following morning, he flew back to America. But just meeting him,
Yeah. It's a hell of an
he came
experience.
across as he was very shy, like I say, with the eye contact. However, when we were sat in the hotel room, we weren't in there for very long. He was just sat in a corner, and he was very head down, and he was in ordinary clothes, pair of jeans, t-shirt, you name it, things like that. But once he got out into the public eye, he just flipped. Did a 360.
Yeah, it was like a split personality.
Yeah, but I found him to be a really nice, kind man. He was, he was lovely. And everybody spoken to, he was very kind, and he was very, open. Yeah. But yeah, he was a lovely guy. But that's just my point of view, But yeah, he was great.
What year was that, Mitch? Was that back in his heyday? Was that in the mid-90s?
2002,
Oh, okay. Yeah, after the millennium.
2002.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. So what does the clear, confident man in his mid-50s look like, Mitch, in his marriage, with his kids, and in his own head?
Well, what he sees in the mirror.
Hmm. What do you mean by that?
If you're confident enough to praise yourself up in the mirror,
Mm.
then what does that tell you about yourself?
Mm. It's going back to that self-love, isn't it?
Again, it's the eyes.
Yeah.
The eyes tell the story. Because if
Mm.
your eyes are walking all over the place, or they drop, or they go to the corners and upstairs and all this sort of thing, you know, I've always found when I was teaching and that, when I used to teach people, even on one-on-ones, whenever I start talking to them, they go, "Mm." And I
Mm.
go, "No,
Yeah.
look at me in the eye." And I wouldn't shout at them or anything. I would just be speaking like I am now. I was just like very clear. I say, "What you're doing is like any technique." I say, "What you're doing is right. But maybe you should put your hand here or here because then the other hand can do this and do that or whatever, and that." But it was very interesting for me, for what I went through, to then becoming this like very, very good martial arts instructor. And it, there was a couple of guys I used to teach where I was looking at myself from like 10 years previously. And I sort of resonated with why they were the way they were. But I used to speak to them after the class, and I just used to
Mm.
take them to one side and just say, I said, "Christ, you did really well today." And they said, "Well, what did I do that was better?" I said, "Well, you looked me in the eye for one thing." I
Mm.
said, "And you held it." I said, "So if you
Mm.
can hold your head up rather than down, what's that telling you?"
Mm. I think it's what you truly believe when you are looking yourself in the eye in that mirror and talking to yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah, like you said, so many people they wouldn't be able to do that. They wouldn't be able to look themselves in the eye. They'll be looking down. They'll be looking around, and they wouldn't be able to do it.
mm,
But again, it's just those small steps
definitely.
in the right direction, making progress.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. If you wanna make progress, like I say, the two things I do, a, I'll write stuff down. And then I'll read
Mm.
it, and if I don't like it, I'll screw it up, and then I'll write something more positive, and then I'll read it
Yeah.
again, and I'm like, now I know what mood I'm gonna be in, and again, the mirror thing, it's just, I know it sounds stupid.
Mm. Yeah, and it does, and it feels stupid in the beginning, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It
but,
really does.
doing it daily and,
Mm.
you
Yeah,
know, and I love myself.
yeah,
If you cannot love
yeah,
yourself, who can you love?
yeah.
Who can you
Important,
yeah? And that,
so
I think
important.
that's one of the best that's one of the best things that Stephen ever said to me. He said, "If you cannot love yourself, who can you love?"
Mm. Yeah, and everything's a reflection. So the whole
Yeah.
mirror thing that's it, isn't it?
Well, you can see what your face is doing.
Yeah, the mirror doesn't lie.
Doesn't lie.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So if you could go back, Mitch, and speak to your younger self, what would you say? Knowing all the stuff that you know now, all about mindset, about NLP, and through all the things that we discussed throughout this podcast.
That's a very good question. I would probably say that I made mistakes. I'm not gonna lie, when I was younger, I was a right idiot. I really was. I thought I was something I was not, and I screwed up on a lot of things. But,
Mm.
actually being able to communicate, not just verbally, but body language, your eyes, reading people. I just think that as males, sometimes we underestimate ourselves far too much. And, um, you know, be the man who you want to be, man. Just tell yourself how great you are. Again, put it in blinking, get one of these out, and write everything down, and it's,
Yeah.
and until you do that, you are never going to make that small step. Small steps are the best things you could do to lead to the bigger steps. You know that
Mm,
yourself, you know, and it
mm,
and it's something that I still resonate with now. You know, when I walk to work, I'm about an 8 to 10-minute walk from where I work. When I walk out the door, I don't care if it's raining, snowing, pissing down, or whatever it is. I've got the same mind frame, you know, and I walk down there, I stick my music on, and I'm like, yeah, and I sing on all the way to work. And when I get there, I'll take them out, and I'm like, and I walk through the door, and I'm like, hey, here I am, guys. Let's have a great day, bang, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's I've got a real personality, and well, you probably know that now, but yeah, but I like, you know, I love communicating with people, and I think communication is the biggest thing that males really don't do. They don't communicate.
Mm,
And, you know, I wanna help the guys go from where I was to the pinnacle of who they are, truly are. You know, once they've hit their true self, that they have hit their true self, then the world's an oyster. You've just got, like, whatever you wanna do, go and do it. Go and do it.
yeah. I remember you said communicating so many times throughout this chat, Mitch, and I remember when my granddad retired, one of the things that he really struggled with was not having the banter with the lads on site and at work, and he really struggled. But I think as humans, uh, again going back to the nature is a great thing for us, but it's having that
Mm.
sense of community,
Yeah,
because we are tribal creatures, and that's
absolutely.
so important.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, yes,
Mm,
you're right. Yeah, you know,
yeah.
communicate
When
with
we
yourself
isolate,
and communicate
when
with
we yeah, when when we isolate ourselves and we keep things to ourselves, we're just digging a deeper hole for ourselves, aren't we?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
Why would you wanna fall down a pit and not know how to get back out of it?
mm, yeah,
You know, what
yeah.
do you do if there's no ladder there? How are you gonna get out of it? Well, you'll find a way. No matter what it
Mm,
takes, you'll find a way, and once you come out of that hole and you're in the fresh air and you're in the breeze or whatever it is, then you can go, "Hey, I can walk wherever I want to now, and I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna be the man who I really am."
can give yourself a pat on the back. So, what does the next chapter look like for you, Mitch, and where can people find you?
Right, so basically, I'm starting an online business. It's called
Okay,
Mindful Mindset, but it's MYND.
okay.
FUL instead of like MIND. So basically for males between 50 and 60 and that who are lost, like I say, feeling lost but want to become very confident and
Mm,
that. We've got a 3-month online coaching
okay.
through the stuff that obviously we've learnt. And but I've done my own little things as well on top of that.
Mm,
And then just like see their progress from being what they may feel like small to becoming like this massive, like powerhouse of a man. Carry on doing that, you know, with your life. Like climb the ladder slowly. Don't rush it. Because there's a couple of, you know, there's a couple of people I spoke to before where they've done a course in a month and basically within about 2 or 3 weeks they've gone straight back down to where they were. So this is a 3-month one, and it's
yeah.
well, it's going to be intense, and it is going to be intense,
Mm,
and you're going to have to literally, you know, face yourself and go like, you know, well, I've done this wrong, or I never did this and I should have done it. Well, now's your chance to do it. You know, we'll set you tasks. You have to do them to progress. If you don't want to progress, then you're not going to do it. But I know you can do it. I know you can. I've done it. You certainly can do it. You know,
mm.
and that's one of the things that I love about life. You know, like now, you know, I've got another 40 years on this planet, man. You know, I'm 60 now. I'm going to be 100 in 40 years. But you know what? I'm going to go and live my fucking life. Sorry for the bad language, but yeah.
No, no, I love your energy, Mitch. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, I love.
When I started the podcast at the start of the year, I always remembered you from the coaching masters, and I always thought, I said, I've got to get him on.
Yeah.
I've got to get you on. I think anyone who's listening to this who are 40 plus, because I coach men in their 40s as well,
Yeah.
and they're feeling tired, they're feeling lost, they feel like they've lost their edge. It's nice to know that they're not alone,
No.
And they're not done. So thanks for taking the time to come on here today and share your wisdom, Mitch. And whatever you do, don't stop what you're doing, mate.
I'm not. I won't. And look, if you ever want me to come back on again for you, Luke, I will do.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Because I've got such a long list here about all the things that we could have spoke about, and we didn't get through half of them. So I'll definitely get you back on, Mitch. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for today, Luke. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
No worries, mate. Take care, Mitch.
Yeah. High five.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, buddy.